Gun tied open is an explosive formation that can be found in 14 different playbooks, but for our setups, we want to use either the Chiefs or the Commanders playbook. For this scheme, I highly recommend flipping your formation so that the running back is always lined up on the wide side of the field, which will allow us to get the very most out of the awesome route combos that we have to attack both sides of the field. I also recommend that you put your best receiver in the slot on the side opposite your running back because he'll often be on corner routes and zig routes that we want to beat man coverage. While your audibles are completely up to you, I recommend having the plays speed option, inside zone, dig Z spot, and bench Z spot in your audibles menu. In this ebook, we'll go over how to air the ball out as well as utilize one of the best option plays in the game in this electric high-powered scheme. The abilities you put on the field can have a massive impact on the success of a scheme. Obviously, if you play MUT, then your available AP will increase throughout the year, so the abilities here are listed in order of most important to least important. The most important position on the field is quarterback, and I strongly recommend using a QB with a passing velocity ability like set feet lead or pass lead elite, while some luxury abilities would be hot route master, fearless, gunslinger, or gift draft. At wide receiver and tight end, I strongly recommend using short and elite, route technician, or matchup nightmare, since those will help your guys get separation against man coverage. It can also be especially useful to get the slot apprentice ability on at least one receiver, which will allow us to utilize crossers, one of the best man-beating routes in the game. On the offensive line, if possible, I strongly recommend using edge protector or secure protector on your tackles, and luxury abilities would be using secure protector on the rest of your O-line, as well as threat detector, identifier, or post up. I don't use any abilities on my running back, but backfield mismatch, backfield master, or jukebox are great if you have the extra AP. Here are my key points to know when running gun tied open. When it comes to alignment, I always flip the formation so that the running back is lined up on the wide side of the field. When utilizing corner routes to the wide side of the field, use a fade rather than a streak for the receiver on the clear out route. The fade will do a much better job than a streak when it comes to pulling the outside cornerback deep, which will help your corner routes get wide open along the sideline. Use the play read option to force your opponent to switch their option defense to conservative, which will in turn make the play speed option much more effective for us. When running speed option, the hurdle and pitch is much more effective than just a regular pitch. On corner routes against man coverage, you need to freeform your throws up and away from defenders, and my freeform settings are near and 7 out of 20. And finally, against man coverage, zigs from the inside receivers are extremely effective at getting separation. Every setup in this ebook can be a highly effective part of your scheme, but if you feel overwhelmed, then here are the main plays to focus on. Get comfortable with read option and speed option because that 1-2 punch can be a nearly unstoppable combination on the ground. Next, I would focus on our dig Z spot #1 setup, which has an easy read progression and can absolutely destroy both man and zone coverage. And finally, I would focus on getting comfortable with our bench Z spot #2 setup, which will allow you to push the ball downfield and take full advantage of the awesome corner routes that we have in this formation. Here are my blocking tips and recommendations for gun tied open. Most of the time, picking up a blitz will be as simple as blocking your running back or motion blocking one of your receivers. You can also do both of these to pick up a heavy overload blitz like out of the 4-3 even 6-1 formation. Against blitzes that utilize a blitzing slot cornerback like $3-2, blocking your running back and IDing one of the slot cornerbacks as the mic should pick it up pretty well. And against a loop blitz, blocking your running back and double teaming one of the defensive ends should help your blockers pick up the loop and give you a couple seconds in the pocket. This is the play we want to start our games with to establish our rushing attack. The play is read option, and before the snap, we want to identify the read key defender who will have an R icon above his head, and it will typically be a defensive end. After the snap, if the read key crashes in, then don't press anything to keep the ball with your quarterback and take off into the open space on the outside. After your first time keeping it with your quarterback, your opponent will probably change their option defense to conservative. That means the next time you run this read option play, the read key will stay home, and that means you want to hold A on Xbox or X on PlayStation to hand the ball off to your running back. It's important to establish read option early on and get your opponent on option defense conservative, since that will lay the foundation for the rest of our run game. This is one of the most overpowered run plays in all of Madden. The play is speed option, and before the snap, we want to identify the pitch key defender who will have a P icon above his head, and it will usually be a defensive end but it could also be a linebacker or a safety. If the pitch key is a defensive end, then all we have to do after the snap is run straight at the pitch key and then do a hurdle with the Y or triangle button and then pitch the ball with the LB or L1 button. The hurdle is important because it momentarily draws defenders towards the quarterback, and it also gets the ball higher and greatly reduces the chances that you'll accidentally pitch the ball into a defender. Now, this will be extremely effective as long as the pitch key is a defensive end and your opponent is on option defense conservative. If your opponent isn't on conservative option defense, then the pitch key may slide out to guard the running back, in which case you need to keep the ball with your quarterback and try to slide before getting hit, but that's why we always want to use the read option to force them into conservative option defense. Now, a trick you can mix in is that if your opponent is playing a lot of man coverage, you can motion your receiver or tight end away from the option side, which will cause his defender to motion over with him and take himself out of the play. One final note is that if the pitch key is a linebacker or safety, you'll have to read the behavior of the pitch key to decide whether to pitch the ball out to the running back or keep it with your quarterback. This can actually be an advantage when you only need to gain a yard or two, since it makes it extremely easy to take the snap and then dive forward with your quarterback to pick up those few crucial yards. This is our best run play for pounding the rock inside. The play is inside zone, and you can mix this run in to force your opponent to respect the ground game. After the snap, it is crucial that you don't hold the sprint button until you cross the line of scrimmage, and that'll help your O linemen hold their blocks way better while also making it easier for you to find a running lane. If your opponent is playing zone coverage, then you can also motion across your tight end or wide receiver from the wide side to the short side, and that'll give you an extra blocker to help you take it outside for some huge gains. This is my favorite play in the ebook for destroying both man and zone coverage. The play is dig Z spot, and the only adjustment is to put your wide side outside receiver on a fade, and it's important that this is a fade rather than a streak. After the snap, the first read is the slot receiver on the zig, and if your opponent is in man coverage, then the zig has an extremely high chance of beating his man, and you can pass lead him outside and take it up the sideline for easy yards. The next read is the high-low of the tight end corner route and the running back flat route. If your opponent is leaving the flat open, then go ahead and take the easy yards every time, and if they bring a defender down to guard the flat, then just hit your tight end on the corner route deep along the sideline. You can also hit the corner route against man coverage, but you need to freeform the throw up and outside to make sure the defender can't get to it. The final read is the outside receiver on the dig route, which against zone coverage will get wide open over the middle. This setup absolutely destroys man coverage. The play is dig Z spot, and the adjustments are to put your slot receiver on a drag, put your wide side outside receiver on a drag, and block your running back. After the snap, the first reads are on the two drags crossing over the middle, since drags are one of the best man-beating routes in Madden 24. Make sure you pass lead them to the outside, which will help them keep their momentum and turn it upfield after the catch. The next read is the tight end on the corner route, and as long as you freeform this throw up and outside, then the defender will have no chance of getting to it. The final read is the dig route over the middle, and while it doesn't get a ton of separation, it's usually enough for you to safely lead the ball away from the defender for a solid completion over the middle. This setup absolutely decimates zone coverage. The play is bench Z spot, and the adjustments are to put your wide side receiver on a fade and put your short side receiver on a streak. It's important that you use a fade rather than a streak on the wide side of the field, because that's what will pull the cornerback with us deep to open up space for the corner route underneath. After the snap, the first read is the running back in the flat, and if your opponent leaves it open, you should take the easy yards every time. The next read is the short side receiver on the corner route, and all you have to do is pass lead the ball down and away to make sure the defender being pulled deep by the streak can't come back to make a play on the ball. The final read is the tight end on the corner route on the wide side, and this route gets deep enough that it should get over all zone drops. In this case, just pass lead the ball away from the nearest defender, and you'll be racking up some massive gains along the sideline. This setup is incredible at beating zone coverage. The play is bench Z spot, and the adjustments are to put your wide side receiver on a fade, put your running back on a streak, and put your short side receiver also on a streak. It's important that you use a fade route on the wide side of the field, because that's what will make sure we pull the cornerback deep to open up space for the corner route underneath. After the snap, the first read is the running back on the streak, and you can hit him either on a quick throw around the line of scrimmage or further downfield once he clears the linebackers. The next read is the short side receiver on the corner route, and all you have to do is pass lead the ball down and away to make sure the defender being pulled pulled deep by the streak can't come back to make a play on the ball. The final read is the tight end on the corner route on the wide side, and this route gets deep enough that it should get over all zone drops. In this case, just pass lead the ball away from the nearest defender and you'll be racking up some massive gains along the sideline. This setup obliterates both man and zone coverage. The play is bench, dig, pivot, and the adjustments are to put your short side outside receiver on a streak, put your running back on a wheel, put your tight end on a drag, and put your wide side outside receiver on an out route and motion him outside. After the snap, the first read is the out route on the outside, and if your opponent isn't guarding the flat, then go ahead and take the easy yards every time. The next read is the tight end on the drag, which against zone coverage, you can hit for easy yards underneath, and against man coverage, you can pass lead it to the outside so he can keep his momentum and turn it upfield after the catch. The next read is the running back on the wheel, and against zone coverage, the combination of the out route breaking outside and the drag breaking inside will pull zone defenders apart and create a pocket of open space to hit your running back for solid yards. And against man coverage, the running back wheel will usually get over top the defender, and you can freeform the pass up to put the ball out in front of him for some monster gains. The final read is the slot receiver on the corner route, and all you have to do is pass lead the ball down and away for an easy completion on the outside. This is an extremely easy way to attack zone coverage. The play is bench, dig, pivot, and the adjustments are to put your short side outside receiver on a streak, block your running back, put your tight end on a drag, and motion out your wide side outside receiver. After the snap, the first read is the tight end on the drag, and if your opponent leaves it open, then go ahead and take the easy yards every time. The next read is the slot receiver on the corner route, and all you have to do is pass lead the ball down and away to make sure a cornerback in a deep blue zone won't be able to come down and make a play on it. And if your opponent goes and uses the corner route, the final read is the wide side receiver on the dig, which you can hit for easy yards over the middle. This is an extremely easy way to attack man coverage. The play is bench, dig, pivot, and the adjustments are to put your short side outside receiver on a drag, block your running back, put your tight end on a drag, and motion out your wide side outside receiver. After the snap, the first reads are on the two drags crossing over the middle, since drags are one of the best man-beating routes in Madden 24. Make sure you pass lead them to the outside, which will help them keep their momentum and turn it upfield after the catch. The next read is the slot receiver on the corner route, and as long as you freeform this throw up and outside, then the defender should have no chance of getting to it. The final read is the dig route over the middle, and while it doesn't get a ton of separation, it's usually enough for you to safely lead the ball away from the defender for a solid completion over the middle. This setup does an awesome job of attacking both man and zone coverage. The play is slot post, and the adjustments are to put both outside receivers on streaks, put your tight end on a slant, put your running back on a swing route, and smart route your slot receiver to make his post a little shorter. After the snap, the first read is your running back on the swing route, and if your opponent leaves it open, then go ahead and take the easy yards every time. The next read is the tight end on the slant, and in addition to being able to separate against man coverage, the slant can also be extremely powerful against zone coverage as it crosses the field and clears the zone defenders guarding underneath. The final read is the slot receiver on the post, and against man coverage, make sure you freeform the ball outside so the man defender can't make a play on it. And against zone coverage, make sure you pass lead the ball down to keep the ball away from the safeties, and you'll be picking up some huge gains over the middle. If your opponent is sitting in cover 3, use this setup to bomb them for a one-play touchdown. The play is slot post, and with your running back lined up on the short side of the field, the adjustments are to put your wide side receiver on a streak, block your running back, and motion out your short side outside receiver and put him on a comeback route. After the snap, the comeback route will hold down the cornerback in the outside third, and the streak will hold the middle safety, and that will leave the post wide open, which you can hit for a massive one-play touchdown. It's important that you don't drop too far back in the pocket, and that'll help your blocks hold longer, and if you can do that, then you'll be launching it deep to your receiver and diving into the end zone with style. This setup absolutely destroys man coverage. The play is mesh spot, and the adjustments are to put your wide side outside receiver on a flat route and then motion block your short side outside receiver. After the snap, the first reads are on the two drags crossing over the middle, since drags are one of the best man-beating routes in Madden 24. Make sure you pass lead them to the outside, which will help them keep their momentum and turn it upfield after the catch. The next read is the running back on the wheel route, and with how this route combo is set up, most of the time we'll get an interior linebacker or a safety trying to run with the wheel, and as long as you freeform this pass up, the running back will burn him over the top for massive gains down the field. This is an explosive route combo for attacking man coverage. The play is mesh spot, and if you have the slot apprentice ability on your wide side outside receiver, then the adjustments are to put him on a crosser and motion block your short side outside receiver. After the snap, the first reads are on the two drags crossing over the middle, since drags are one of the best man-beating routes in Madden 24. Make sure you pass lead them to the outside, which will help them keep their momentum and turn it upfield after the catch. The next read is the crosser, which is another one of the best man-beating routes in the game, and make sure you freeform this pass up and away from the defender to make sure he has no chance of making a play on it. The final read is the running back on the wheel route, and as long as you freeform this pass up, the running back will almost always burn his defender over the top for massive gains down the field. This is an awesome quick snap play for attacking zone coverage. The play is verticals halfback burst, and you can run this play completely stock. After the snap, you want to try and read both the slot receiver and the tight end on their routes up the seam. These can be open immediately, or you might have to wait a second for them to clear the linebackers, and you may even need to use LB or L1 to throw a high ball to make sure you get it over the defender. The final read is the check down to the running back on the delayed out route out of the backfield, which can pick up some really solid yards underneath.